Hey everybody, it's your girl Rare Diamond Tay, and I'm coming at you with another video. As you can see, this video features baby Dreas and of course my daughter, sorry,
Okay.
Lexi. This is going to be a Q&A of labor and delivery of the birth of baby Dreas. Right now, Dreas is 2 months, 9 weeks to be exact. He weighs 13 pounds, probably 14 by now. He's in a size 3 months and he drinks 5 ounces of milk. Okay, let me let you get another good look at him before he goes with Cece. It's the baby. Gosh, my baby, he's so smart.
He's smart like his sissy.
He's so smart. He already laughs and interacts. He's just the best baby. He probably wakes up one time through the night. Oops, that was a burp. But he probably wakes up one time through the night, sometimes more, depending on how hungry he is. A few questions about labor and delivery, so we're going to do a quick Q&A. So in a Facebook community I'm in, I asked them to ask me a few questions about labor and delivery. So I have those questions that I'm going to be reading off my phone. So the first question is, how did you prepare mentally and emotionally for labor and delivery? With me, I'm big on positive thinking. I just know things are going to go smoothly. And this is my third pregnancy. So I had no complications with the other pregnancies. So I kind of knew this one was going to be smooth too. I did everything I did with my other pregnancies. I made sure I took my prenatal vitamins every day. I made sure I went to all my appointments. So I already had a mind state that everything was going to go smoothly. I had no worries. I just made sure I did everything that I knew I was supposed to do and kept a positive mindset. Next question. What were your biggest fears going into labor? So, like I said before, I kind of keep a positive mindset, but like me and other moms, it's some things you can't help but to worry about. You want to make sure your baby is okay, and you want to make sure you go home okay. So I would say that those were my biggest fears going into labor. Also, I'm real big on vaginal births. One of my biggest fears is a C-section because I didn't want to get cut open. I want to be able to walk and not have additional pain that comes with having a C-section. So I think that was one of my biggest fears. Next question. What was the hardest part of your labor? I think for me, the hardest part was the actual push. Not that it hurt because I did have an epidural, but it's a lot of work. Like, by the time you catch your breath, you really can't catch your breath because it's time to push again, and you're constantly pushing, the hardest push you've ever done in life. Like, words can't even explain. Like, you just pushing, and it's really, really exhausting. I didn't have to push. I probably pushed for about 15 to 20 minutes. So yeah, that was very exhausting. Like I said, it's hard to catch your breath because if you sit there too long catching your breath, the baby kind of pulls back in. So you want to keep pushing every time the doctor tells you. So I think that's the hardest part of labor. Next question. Did you get an epidural? If so, how was that experience? That was probably the worst thing for me during the entire process because every time I get an epidural, it's never successful on the first try. And I think because I kind of have a weird shaped spine, so it's kind of hard for them to get. But I think this last epidural had to be the worst. We had a trainee that was there with the anesthesiologist, and they had to do it over and over. And they were like, let me know if you could feel this rubbing against you. Does it hurt more to the right, to the left? And I just took the pain for so long. My husband was concerned. It was to the point, but I was gonna be like, you know what, forget it. I was at the point where I was like, I'll push him out with no pain meds. So that was painful for me. And if you have a good experience, it's over with like that. It's not too bad, but I think it's worse for me because I don't have a straight shaped spine. Next question. How did recovery feel in those first 24 hours? For me, I was back up and at it. You still feel a little weird because, of course, you just pushed out a baby. You feel a little soreness in your stomach, but I was up and walking around like, sorry, my dogs are barking. But I was up and walking around like nothing happened, and that's why I prefer a vaginal birth over a C-section because I wanted to be able, to be normal. You already just had a newborn baby. I just didn't want to experience anything else besides that. But yeah, after the first 24 hours, I was good. I was eating, I was walking. I just had to focus on breastfeeding and bringing in my milk. Okay, I had to put baby boy down for his nap, and we are on the last question. So the last question says, how did it feel bringing baby home for the first time? Okay, so before you give birth and while you're pregnant, you have everything set up. You have the nursery, the crib, or the bassinet. You have everything set up how you want it for when the baby comes home. But when you walk through that door with the baby, you're like looking around like, OMG, where do I start? Because you just walked in on a whole new life, something new in your home that hasn't been there before. I was lost, and this is my third time. And I was so stuck, like, just sit in the living room for a moment. I sat in the living room for a moment trying to figure everything out. Like, do I put him in the bassinet? Do I feed him right now? Like, what do I do? So it's very confusing once you bring baby home for the first time, I would say. I think it was confusing every time for me, especially with my first because I was so young. And yeah, it's always confusing. You just have everything planned out, clothes washed, everything done. You get home, poof, all of that is out the window. So this was my last child. I don't plan on having any more. I actually didn't plan on having a third, but life happens. But I'm making sure I take all the precautions now to make sure I don't have any more.